Hello, testing, okay. Hey, Mike, you can probably bring me down a little bit because it's not a little smaller group. Hello, testing, that's probably better. All right, well, shall we begin? Who knows, we might have a couple stragglers, but we'll see. All right. Well, let's stand together and we're going to pray and commit this time to the Lord and trust He's going to guide us and impart wisdom to us. Lord, we just come to you tonight. We invite you to come and be in the midst of us. That, Lord, where there's so much practical application, we trust that there will be a spirit of wisdom here tonight for us to understand your design, to understand our purpose, to understand how you've made us and how we're meant to interlock and work together. And so, Father, we really, your word says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let them ask of God who gives to all generously if we ask in faith. And so, Lord, we ask in faith tonight that the spirit of wisdom will be strong here. That, Lord, whatever challenges individuals have, whatever opportunities they're facing, that there'll be wisdom imparted. And we come to you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So, yeah, have a seat. Thanks. Appreciate y'all being out here. Coming out tonight. It's been actually 2 years since we've done this particular talk. That's the longest I've ever waited to do it. I usually do it every year and a half. It just seemed like it was slipping away from us. I thought, we got to do this, got to get everybody up to speed. And so one of the things that is kind of really important to understand when we talk about, it's a personality seminar, right? And you may all have different reasons for coming tonight, but the tests that you hopefully took for tonight, they help us in a lot of ways. They're not to be able to pigeonhole you or say, okay, now we know you're this, so now we can pigeonhole you here. We got you figured out. We got you wired. But it really comes down to learning how to work as a team, understanding people, understanding how they're designed, how they're wired. Sometimes it means having a little bit more tolerance for people that may be different than we are. And all these things are so important, especially within a body of a community of believers, where we need to have maybe a little bit more patience and acceptance toward each other, and so appreciation of our differences, understanding if you are an entrepreneur, having a better understanding of your customers, for instance. If you're in a professional world like a doctor, a nurse, or a physical therapist or something, all these things come to bear because they help us understand people and how to relate to them and how to build bridges to them. So and then in the midst of the tests that you take, you also are discovering strengths and weaknesses, right? And so all of those things are to make us better. So it can help with career and volunteer organizations. It can help with marriage and parenting. And there's so many areas of life where when you begin to kind of get this. And I can tell you in my marriage, I wish I had really had a better grasp of some of the principles and some of the information that I'm going to give you today at the time, because the first 10 years of marriage, I mean, nobody talked about this type of thing. I mean, not that it wasn't out there, but not like it is now. And it's much more broken down, itemized, quantified, studied, and cross-examined, especially when we're talking about the Myers-Briggs test. It's been out now 60 or 70 years. And so the eggheads have been analyzing it for a really long time. But I think it would have really helped my wife and I in our marriage if we had just had the information a little earlier. It seemed to just kind of help. We just began to get each other, began to understand each other a lot better. Like, oh, okay. And if you go to personalitypage.com, for instance, it gives very elaborate descriptions of each of the 16 personality types. And they can be really helpful. So we'll be looking into all that. So about 20 years ago, maybe 25. It was a really long time ago. I didn't really try to figure out specifically, but many years ago, we went on a reunion with our family up in Arkansas. And I had been kind of coming into the understanding of the various tests. And so I had the whole family taking the Myers-Briggs test free online at that time. And my dad took it, and I was reading a description of him because I really wanted to understand him better after all these years. And then when I began to read him his description, then I began to read him my description. And you know what he said? It really fascinated me because when I saw it, I thought, okay. So he said, and I wrote it down like a quote, he says, "Now I know why I had so much trouble understanding you." So I didn't know, at the time I wasn't sure how to take that. I was kind of like, I'm an adult now, I have married, I have children, but it's like this, all these years have gone by, and at that moment, I'm reading a description of our two personalities, and he's looking at it and he's going, now I understand why I never really fully understood you. He couldn't get me. And there was always this kind of disapproval from him, and all of a sudden it just kind of like, wow, okay, maybe this is helpful. So there's five popular tests that we will touch on as we go through this. So Myers-Briggs will be our primary focus. It's also called the MBTI test. The love languages test, I'll touch on that a little bit. The motivational gifts test, I'll touch on that a bit. Have you all heard of these tests? Have you taken them before? Hopefully you've taken them. We had 3 of them online that you were supposed to take, right? That was the love languages, motivational gifts, and the Myers-Briggs. Then there's another one called the animal test. I usually kind of give that test in this class. But this time, I'm trying to consolidate this class into one part. We'll probably have an intermission somewhere near the halfway point, let everybody take a quick break. But I'm trying to run this out and fit it all in 2 hours, so I had to cut some things out, and one of them was the animal test. If somehow we end up with a bunch of extra time, then maybe we can explore the animal test. I brought copies of it. You can always take it. It's really fun. There are 4 animals. Are you a golden retriever? Are you a beaver? Are you a lion? Or are you an otter? So there are 4, and you can kind of see when you know the animals, it makes sense. You realize, oh, the beaver's really industrious. The lion's king of the jungle. See? And so it all kind of correlates. So what I want to do now is establish kind of a biblical basis for understanding personality, God's design for us. And so and when I read these passages, it's not like these passages were written 2,000 years ago to be able to create a personality cross-examination. They're embedded with principle and truth. And so over the years, people have taken the 7 gifts from 1 Corinthians that we're talking about here in chapter 12, and they've kind of created this motivational test approach. It may not be the precise exegetical, theological breakdown of the passage, but it kind of works. And so from a practical standpoint, we're going to use it. It's kind of cool how it works. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, we're going to start with verses 4 through 6, and there they are right there on the screen. The Apostle Paul's writing to the Corinthian church. He says, there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are differences of ministries, but the same Spirit. There are diversities of activities, but it is the same God who works all in all. Isn't that interesting? So he's talking about differences of gifts, differences of ministries, and differences of activities. And some people refer to that as motivations. So as we continue reading in kind of a complementary verse in Romans, Paul is kind of using similar language. In Romans 12, 6 through 8, we see that. He says, having then gifts differing according to the grace given to us, let us use them. If prophecy, let us prophesy in proportion to our faith. Of ministry or service, let us use it in our ministering or serving. He who teaches in teaching, he who exhorts in exhortation, he who gives with liberality, and he who leads with diligence, he who shows mercy with cheerfulness. So, there are the 7 gifts, if you will. These are not the gifts of the Spirit. There's 9 of those in another place in 1 Corinthians. But These are 7 gifts that are often referred to as motivational gifts. Again, the Bible doesn't say these are the 7 gifts, motivational gifts, and these are what we're going to use to build tests in the future. That's not, but it kind of works, all right? So, when you look at this passage, we're going to break it down just a little bit. It actually has in ancient it's as an ancient literary structure. It's what they call a chiasm, a chiasmic structure. In other words, throughout the Old Testament, New Testament, when the writers would organize their thoughts, they'd organize them in the shape of a chiasm. So if you can think of it this way, think of it like a delta, or so kind of a helpful tool to kind of express this idea of a chiasm is the menorah. And again, it doesn't mean the menorah is here in this text. But you know what a menorah is, right? It's the special candle holder used by the Jews, right? And so if you think of the menorah, you have a mirror image of itself. You see that? So it kind of folds on itself, is symmetrical. And that's the idea of a chiasm in the literary tool that they use to organize their thoughts. And I'm telling you, I mean, how do we organize our thoughts when we write? We do an introduction, and we do it unconsciously. I mean, it's just how we were all taught growing up, right? You organize your thoughts. You're going to write an essay. You do an introduction. Then you do the body. And the body has what? A, B, and C. I expect somebody to say it. And then it has what? The conclusion. That's it. That's how we organize just about everything that we do. And so, but that's not how they did it in an ancient Near Eastern culture. They used what's called a chiasm. So when you look at this text, you have 7 gifts, and they are all laid out in a chiasm. And it's important to understand it because it helps you understand the order and the priority. You would normally, if you're reading this from a Western standpoint, you would think, which is the most important gift of all? Huh? Of the seven gifts in the text? If you can go back, Mike, one screen, or actually just go to the next screen. So the 7 gifts are, if we look from left to right, prophecy. And then we have mercy over here, see? And we have serving here. And across from serving, in the symmetry of it, is what? Leadership. You see the pattern? And how each is meant to balance the other. They're almost like opposites of each other. And then you have teaching, and then in the middle, exhortation, and then the next one is giving. All right. So if you kind of think about that, where is the center point of the chiasm? It's here. And what is exhortation? It's encouraging the people. So in other words, it motivates us to move forward with the kingdom of God and the interests of God's kingdom. So all of these are meant to point and strengthen, ultimately, and edify the church. These are all meant to essentially encourage us along the way. And they all work in concert, if you will. And so this is a really cool thing. I know I really made a mess of it, didn't I? So I'm going to try to illustrate this. Let me get ahead of myself. Okay. So if we were to think of it, I'm going to try to tell you a story. Let's just say we have a big celebration we're going to do as a church. And we have somebody donated a plant, and we're going to plant this plant in a very celebration way, and we're going to have it in a certain spot. And we're going to have a little, what do you call it, a little march down the aisle and bring it to the front of the church. And we're going to pray and dedicate. Maybe it's a new building that could someday come, right? It's actually in the works, if you didn't know. And so an addition, actually, not a new building. But so you have this all set in motion. And then picture, at that moment, the band is playing, there's music playing, the pastor's about to pray, maybe ask a couple of people to pray also. And so here we are dedicating this beautiful plant in a pot, and it's on rollers, and it's been rolled in. It's kind of heavy. And so, but somehow, something happens, and it falls over. And the plant in the pot breaks on the ground, and the soil goes all over the carpet. And then the first thing that happens is all these gifts kick in. And so they start going. The prophet goes, I told you guys that cart wasn't going to hold it. You see, he's seeing ahead. He's like, and of course that hurts people's feelings because the prophet's so direct, so bottom line. But the mercy person comes up and goes, it's okay, it could happen to any of us. You see the balance? And then the servants, they're like, what's all the yapping? Let's start cleaning it up. Let's solve the problem. Let's step in here. And they, in the most natural way, begin to come in, and they're getting brooms and pans and shovels and whatever they need to clean it up. And then the giver steps up. People are grieving because this disappointment has happened. So where am I? Oh, the giver steps up and goes, I will make a donation. I will pay for it. In fact, I will donate so much toward this new project that we can buy a plant twice as big and a much better cart to carry it on. You see how each person steps up, and you see this actually happen in a church community environment where people will just begin to kick in. And so then leadership steps in and says, okay, I think that we could maybe find a way to do this more efficiently. I can see that so many of you care and that you're stepping up, and I see people coming with dustpans and brooms, and maybe there's a little bit of chaos here. So what I'd like to do is, if you guys could come over here and do this, and then the ones that are over here, you see, and they begin to kind of create maybe a better efficiency, and they begin to lead. But then there's the exhorter, and he can sense that the people are a little bit disheartened because this beautiful celebration pot plant has fallen in the middle of the service at this tender moment. And so the exhorter comes along, and he steps up and goes, listen, ladies and gentlemen, it is so thrilling to see how the body of Christ comes together. It is such an amazing thing to see the prophet among us that warned us that we could have had a better cart, and we could learn to listen maybe a little bit better, but that's okay because we're all learning, we're all growing, right? And so he says, and then to think that this spurred on generosity in the church. But here's the thing, I want you all to understand as the exhorter, we're going to move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to give up. There is supply, there's provision, there's everything we need, and nothing is going to stop our celebration. We'll just start again next Sunday, and we're going to do it better than ever. Are you with us? Yes! Okay, so that's how these 7 motivational gifts can kind of work together. You see that? And so, in part of that, when we talk about the differences from a personality standpoint, it's easy to kind of see our differences. It would be really easy for the mercy-motivated person to look back and go, that prophetic person is so harsh. And they get offended. They're offended with this person. And the teacher, why would you find a moment like this to try to teach people that maybe we could have approached this differently based on this and that or whatever? And so you see how each of these can create kind of an abrasiveness with each other if we don't really understand God's design for the body of Christ and how we're all meant to work together. So that is our hypothetical story of the big pot plant dropped and how each gift responds. So if you took that test, if I could, it has different words, prophecy or the perceiver. Depends on what test you took or how our test was actually kind of defined the terms. But in the actual scriptural text of the 7 gifts, so let me just ask you, how many of you had as your primary gift prophecy? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so do you tend to be like kind of fired at 4, kind of fired up and kind of like very direct at times? You get in trouble on Facebook all the time? Okay, like, oh, they're going to shut me down again, I'm headed for jail or whatever. Okay, so then the one who serves, how many of you got ministry or serving as number 1? You got it? Okay. Oh, 2 over here. Okay, yes, yes, yes. So like 5, 6 people. Which one did you get? You got prophecy as well. Okay. All right, we'll chalk it up. The servants are almost equal with the prophets, but let's hope we have a few other gifts in our midst. The teacher, how many of you got teacher? Okay. They were tied. Okay, you got teacher, number 1, tied. Okay. And then exhortation, did I ask that? No? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. Giving, who got giving? We need givers. Yeah, Steve, all right. We've got 1 giver in the midst, 2 gifts. 2 givers. Are you hesitating, Christiana? You're not sure you're a giver? Okay, we got a giver. We've got going for 2, going for 3. Yeah, what was your top one in the test when you took it? Okay. It's called the Motivational Gifts Test, and it's in the same location on the website. All 3 of them are together. So. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you're kind of getting a framework for it. Just go back and grab the other 2 tests. That'd be great. The love languages test is the other one. It's a wonderful thing there. So anyway, as we look at each of these, basically, so how many of y'all got leadership as number 1? Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. How many of you tied with something? Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. That's pretty common. All right. So on the love languages test, this one is really fascinating. But again, I was telling you earlier, I think if I'd understood some of these things early on in my marriage, things would have been a little easier. But that first 10, 15 years, we just didn't know. We didn't understand. So this love languages test is a great tool. And in fact, you can use this test on a friendship level. It doesn't have to be marriage. It doesn't have to be in a context of romance. It can be in the way that you relate to people and know people and this kind of thing. So in the love language test, there are 5 kind of love languages that people have. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So when you look at these, and so here's what happens, is let's just say, if you do it in a marriage context, the husband, and a lot of men are physical touch. And so, they will, I don't know how to explain this, but the wife could be acts of service. So here's what happens. The husband feels love when his wife touches him, but she's hesitant to touch him because it's just going to get us off track for the day. So she holds back. And so there's this kind of impasse. But the fact is that if the husband if this wife is acts of service, but he has no idea she is, but if she is, and he goes out and works in the yard, and I'm describing my wife and I, because I can tell you that if I will go work in the yard a while, the yard is her baby. It's like she's, the scripture talks about God as a gardener, basically, right? Builds a garden for Adam and Eve and so forth. So she's a gardener. And so she will literally feel love. Her cup of love will fill up if I will just do acts of service, and it's the last thing I want to do. So for me, it is a sacrifice. It is truly an act of love. When I was courting her and dating her, I did acts of service all the time without even thinking. I was winning her over. I washed her VW Volkswagen. We were just kind of getting to know each other, and I, just from the generosity, but ever since we got married, she could never get me to wash another car. So quality time, in our case, quality time is the second one. So that's the one where we both found something, at least on the tier of 5, that the second one we had in common. And that really worked because we just like to be together. We just hang out, right? It's actually a form of expressing love to each other in the same language, which is kind of cool. But the problem is that a lot of people don't understand They think because my love language is physical touch, we assume that that's their love language too, and it isn't necessarily, right? And so that's where it helps to adjust and to realize. So that's the idea of the love language. I usually use this test when I do premarital counseling with couples. I want them all to understand what their love languages are and how they relate to each other. And there's just tools. The one common test is the Enneagram test. I'm not going to go into it, but if you want to know how nerdy you are, if you're into that test, here's a correlation chart. All right, go to the next screen. Here's a correlation chart between the Enneagram test and the Myers-Briggs. Have fun with that. Okay, moving right along. I have no special certification to administer the Myers-Briggs. Most of us, but I've done it. I've taught this course for really a long time, many years, usually every year, every 2 years. I've taught it since probably for 15 years. So I can to this day remember people's personality types from 15 years ago. It's really amazing after kind of working through it with people. So when you see a picture, for instance, this next picture, when you see a picture, when you look at that, what is the first thing? And I realized that the one on the bottom left is our young adults. The one on the right is a missions trip that we took to Acuña, Mexico. And then on the top left is an outreach team that we have on campus like 2 weeks ago. The small group on the top right is at a men's fellowship. So when you see these pictures, what's the first reflex you have? Well, you look for yourself, right? Marcus, did you find yourself? Where are you, Marcus? Far left. Oh, you're in the Big Bend picture. Okay, so that's our young adult trip we do every year. It's Big Bend, and they took a really cool picture up in the rocks. So that's the thing. We first want to learn, and when you see a group picture, we always gravitate toward ourselves. How did I look? Was my hair good? What was I wearing that day? You know, I mean, it's just we're so vain. Okay. But that's what we all do. And that's also the case when we talk about these tests. We're first trying to discover who we are. Once we can go through that process, then we can begin to have a better understanding who other people are and begin to build bridges perhaps a little bit easier with some people when it comes to working with them and understanding them and loving people and so forth. It can help a great deal. So the Myers-Briggs, I'm going to introduce this to you now, the concepts of it. How many of you have taken this class with me before? Okay, not that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6. Okay, 6. Looks like 25 to 30 people maybe. All right, so here's how it works. The Myers-Briggs, these 8 letters produce 16 personality types. Okay, each type will have 4 letters. Like you see the 8 letters, ENFP would be one of the sets of 4 letters. That would be a type. ISTJ would be another type. But if you jumble these letters around, you can come up with 16 combinations. Does that make sense? Each of those 16 combinations makes up a personality type. And so, and we'll try to explain this as we go further. This test actually is used by agencies, government institutions, very widely used, very widely accepted. And so hopefully everybody here took the test. So we'll find out as we keep going. Another little trick, when you have the 4 letters, I just learned this today actually. When you have the 4 letters, like for instance, if somebody here were an ENFP, the outer letters actually represent, the outside letters show your preferred working environment. In that case, an extroverted perceiving, and I'll explain perceiving in a little bit, but more of an open-ended, flexible environment. And if somebody was an ISTJ, they would prefer more of an introverted environment, but with a lot of closure, a lot of regiment, a lot of predictability, see? And so, but the 2 center letters show your style of communication. The 2 letters in the middle, the NF, or in this case, the ST. So, here's what you get. And as we go to this, I'm going to show you some videos in a little bit to explain kind of how this whole thing goes. Kind of to quiz you a little bit and see if you've learned something, if you're listening, how well are you listening. So There are 4 primary modes of operation. That's what these, when you break these 8 letters out, there are 4 temperaments, if you will. And the first one, actually, I'm sorry, if we go back, the E and the I, that's extroverted versus introverted. The NI, I'm sorry, that's good. I just jumped to the wrong screen. Continue, Mike, to that. Okay, E or I, extroverted or introverted, that represents your flow of energy. How do you recharge your battery? Do you recharge your battery when you're with people, or do you feel exhausted when you're with people? If my wife were to go, and she hasn't gone on one of these Big Bend trips with young adults in a very long time, but if she did, she would need about 5 days to recover because she's a very strong introvert. So then the next one, sensing or intuitive, S or N. Again, that's in the second slot of the 4 letters, S or N, sensing or intuitive, and that talks about how we take in information. Do you take in information intuitively, or do you take in information from your sensory perception, like my eyes, my touch, my ears, right? It's kind of a very earthy, down-to-earth way of gathering information. I'm an S, so I gather information in a very kind of down-to-earth way. My wife is an N, so she gets information somewhere else. I don't know where she gets it, but she gets it. It's in the cosmos, it's in the air, it's somewhere out there. She gets a lot of information intuitively. I see people nodding their head. They're like, yeah, I understand. I am one of those. Okay. So, in the third area is the T or F, thinking or feeling. This is a little easier to understand, but it's how we prefer to make decisions. Number 4, the P or the J. These are kind of odd because they're using English words that don't necessarily mesh with our day-to-day. Judging or perceiving. Judging, all it means is that the way you live day-to-day is how much... how you prefer that your life is lived. If you get a J in your test, it means you like closure, you like regimentation, you like some predictability, you like to be able to accomplish certain goals, and if you don't, maybe you're pretty disappointed. The P, on the other hand, they prefer an open-ended, flexible way of approaching their day-to-day living. Okay? So, huh? Well, and I'm going to go into that more, but all of us are all of them. All this test is doing is measuring your preference, kind of the path of least resistance in your natural wiring, how you're wired as a person. But all of us are feelers, and all of us are thinkers. You follow? And there's certain situations where me as a thinker, I register as a T on the test. So as a thinker, there are times when I will revert to more of a feeling motivation depending on the environment or the situation that I'm in. Does that make sense? There's times as me as an extrovert where I feel introverted. I can remember some business trips where I thought, man, I'm just out of place. These guys are just heavy, hardcore partiers and all that, and I'm just going to go to my room and call it a day, right? I don't need to be in this environment. And I would feel so introverted in that environment because I thought this is not who I am. I might mingle just long enough to fly the flag and be a team player with the corporate, whatever, but then I'm out as soon as I'm not noticed. The party would get louder and louder and louder because they're all drinking, and I'm like, okay, I can just slip out. They'll never even notice. So all of us, even in my extroverted way, I can think of environments where I would feel introverted. All right, so within each of these categories, we prefer to be either extroverted or introverted, sensing or intuitive, thinking or feeling, judging or perceiving. So note, for example, let's just say we had 3 ESTJs. Huh? Ew. 3 ESTJs? That's scary to you? Okay. All right, so let's just say you had 3 of them. And you might think to yourself, wow, they're not all alike at all. Because they're not alike. This test only measures certain things. There's so many things it does not measure. And that's what's so important. It doesn't measure your IQ. It doesn't assess your personal gifts. It doesn't show your integrity or your character. It doesn't show your knowledge base. And the percentages of whether you're an ESTJ can be completely different. One ESTJ may be a very strong E, another one may be a weak E, you see. And so no, but there are certain things they will always have in common, and we'll look at those. But I want you to understand, it's not like, okay, we just got 3 ESTJs, they should all be clones, and it's not that way at all. So when it comes to thinking or feeling, women tend to be 60% of women are feelers, and 60% of men register thinker. It's kind of interesting. A strong, really strong female thinker can be misunderstood in the workplace because they're functioning differently than what maybe they may be accustomed to. If they're, especially if you're in say, an engineering environment with a bunch of men, and all of a sudden you're the girl in the group, and you're a thinker, and you're a hardcore good engineer, and you can think faster and quicker than all those men put together, but it doesn't mean they fully get you for a while, right? Because they're accustomed to functioning with just one side of their brain, and here you are coming in with both sides operating. All right, so we're going to focus on the 4 temperaments now. They represent the starting point or the cornerstone for understanding yourself and the Myers-Briggs testing methods. So I just kind of went over what all those temperaments were. Okay, so it's important to determine your temperament first. It's the 2 letters, and I'll show you what they are in a second. It can help break a tie. So say that you get 50-50 on a test, and you can't figure out, gosh, what temperament am I? So when I give you the temperament descriptions, you'll be able to say, you can sometimes read those descriptions and go, okay, I think I'm an idealist, or I think that I'm a, you see, or whatever. Okay, so which of these temperaments best fits you? So actually, I need to, I have here a note to hand out the 4 temperaments. Chris, one of those handouts is the 4 temperaments. If you could go ahead and hand those out to everybody. Okay, so think of them this way. So here are the 4 temperaments. This screen, this is the key. This is the key that unlocks all the secrets to the test and to who you are. If you want to know what temperament you're on, there's only 4. My wife says there's 5. She says there's a 5th temperament called the ST temperament. And half of my family are STs. She says, oh, you STs, you always think the same way. You always have, you always, this and that. I'm like, so, honey, there's no 5th temperament, but she's convinced there is. Actually, she's almost convinced me that there actually is an ST temperament. But anyway, we're just going to work with 4 temperaments today. The SJ, and here's how you define them, is what is your primary motivation in life? And SJ is security seeking. The SP is sensation seeking. And SP sensation seeking is like action oriented. They're the ones that want to be on their jet skis on Sunday morning playing in the sun at the beach or whatever. That's the SP. And then the NF, they are identity seeking. So their motivation, natural motivation in life is they almost go their entire life with kind of a quest to figure out who they are. It's okay. It's okay because that temperament has a contribution to make to the rest of us. The NT temperament is knowledge seeking. So these individuals are highly motivated to gain knowledge. They'll take a deep dive. They often will take a lot of college. They will often take very high technical degrees. They will become lawyers and doctors and CEOs and very, very high performance, extremely intelligent individuals. But they walk with a continuous contradiction. And NT temperament is an intuitive thinker. So if you think about it, it's kind of contradictory. Okay, I'm thinking on this hand, but I'm intuitive on this hand. But you think, well, why does that make them so smart? It has something to do with their ability to think outside of the box. And that's actually a fairly rare personality type. We have a lot of them in our church for some reason. We need to scare some of them off or something. And they always know better, and they're always smarter than all the rest of us. And you know, the truth is they actually are smarter than the rest of us. Yes, Naomi? It will never calculate an ST temperament. I mean, unless somebody comes up, some PhD out there says, hey, we got it all wrong, people, we need a fifth temperament. And all they need to do is talk to my intuitive wife who knows. You see, where does she get this information? I'm telling you, they get information. Okay, so how does it break down in the population at large? So let's take a look at this. So the SJ, these SJ people, they are the adults. They are the ones we're all relying on to uphold the institutions of society. Okay, so the SJ has 45% of the population. The SP, the fun people that really want to do their jet skis every Sunday morning and never go to church because it's too boring, these action-oriented individuals make up the next group, 40%. You see our challenge with evangelism? Okay, all right. So, and by the way, just so you know, full disclaimer, that's what I am. And here I am in church. Okay, all right. The NF, these are the intuitive feelers, the idealists, what they're called. They only make up 9% of the population. And then the NT, bless their hearts, 6% of the population. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We have a little fun with this. So I'm figuring about 30 people in the room. Let's figure out what our mix is. Okay, all right, see how it, let me, real quick, let me just count. Mike, I'm going to count you too because you're here. Okay, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Wow, am I close? 31. Maybe I'm an intuitive too. No, I've just been measuring church groups for a really long time, so I'm pretty good. Within one or two, I can usually tell in a group how many there are. And there are 31 people in the room. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. In the 31 people, I'm going to need somebody with a calculator to get me this. So hopefully I'll get 31 results. If you did your homework, we should get 31 results. I want to know how many of you got an SJ temperament. In other words, your 4 letters, if it says ESTJ or it says ISTJ, but somewhere in those 4 letters embedded is an SJ. How many of you got an SJ? You raise your hands high and proud, just like the American flag, high and proud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all the adults we have in here? 5, okay, all right. So how many SPs do we have in the room? Oh, okay, fun people. Okay, 1, 2, y'all are the ones that like to go to Big Ben and stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? I feel lonely. Where are my SPs? All right, 4 SPs. Okay, now you just wait. How many NFs do we have here tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, usually it's a lot more. This is not adding up, ladies and gentlemen. Did y'all not do your homework? Did I only count 5? Do y'all not understand the question? Am I confusing you?
Do the last one, because I'm curious. Yeah, do the last one.
I'm worried now. That has never happened. All right, so did I count 5 NFs? All right, do it again. I want to make sure. I'm skeptical. Oh, you. Okay, I thought so. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Okay, so how many NTs are there? Oh! Are you sure? This is not right. This is not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Did I count 13? Mike, what were you? Yeah, I do. I want to know, Mike, which one are you? ST? All right. Are you an SJ? All right. What are your 4 letters? SP, really? You're an SP? All right, so we're going to add an SP here. Now we have 5. I think I did. All right, SPs, raise your hand again.
Yeah, you counted yourself.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh? No? Did you raise your hand as SP? All right, so did we count you, Dara, did we count you earlier in the SJ group? Okay, whoa. All right. So this is how it's breaking down? Okay, so give me a percentage. Somebody run the calculator. Give me a percentage for each one. Okay, on the first one, how much? 16? Oh, wait, what's the total here? Let's make sure it adds up right. 13. This is only 19? Oh, it's 30. So we're missing 1 or 2 people. Somebody didn't do their homework. Okay, confession. We'll have altar ministry afterwards. If you didn't do your test, it's okay. Dana, you did not do the test? Okay, did you get the text today? Did you get the text today with the link?
I got the text. That's why I'm here. Out of the 30 on the board.
Okay, all right. Back to where we were. 20%. Okay, all right. Don't shout me down. Okay, so 6. Okay, what's the percentage somebody's running? Huh? 20%. Okay, next one. 20 again. I could have calculated that one. And this one, what, 18? 16.6. We'll just round it to 17%. And then this one?
Is 43.
All right. 41.9. We'll make it 42. All right. So this is very disturbing. In all the years I've ever done this test, I have never gotten an NT majority, ever. No, I did not. The group that always dominates this is the NF. They are overwhelming in this class. They're usually like 5 times this. And yet they're underrepresented. Well, they're still overrepresented compared to the population. Just twice as many of you then are in the population. And the reason is because the NF, identity seeking, remember, they are drawn to classes like this. So I don't know what's happening here. I don't know if this should be a matter of prayer. Or the other thing is sometimes people are not actually NTs. They think they are, and maybe we need to inspect their test a little bit better, a little closer, because we need to look at the percentages, and some of y'all, I'll look at your results, but if your percentages are 50% or 51%, it makes a call, but it doesn't necessarily have it right. Okay? So we need to look at some of those because this does not compute. I just think there's no way we have this many NT temperaments in our church. I just don't. They're rare. They're like 6%. Less than 1 in 20. Like 1 in 25. People are NTs. All right, sorry guys, sorry. And the NTs are like, wait a minute. What is he saying? He's saying I didn't do the test right? Oh yeah, we'll see. I'll prove it. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. And I want you to, as you got the handout, everybody got the handout. This will also help decipher whether you're an NT or say, for instance, you could be an NF. NT, NF, or maybe you're you see what I mean? It'd be real easy to slip to one or the other depending on how you answered certain questions. The other problem is if you take the test and you answered a lot of questions in the middle, then you end up with wishy-washy results. And a lot of people go, I'm taking the test and multiple choice and I can't decide, so I'll just do in the middle, in the middle, in the middle, in the middle. And so you need to make a decision. Go one way or the other. Stick your neck out. Take a risk. Go for it. Don't answer in the middle because you'll just get junk. Okay? So that could be possibly what happened. So who knows? But here, okay, so as we look at these 4 temperaments, the SJs all have this in common. The guardians is what they're called. They pride themselves on being dependable, helpful, hardworking, loyal mates, responsible parents, stabilizing leaders. Like I said, they're the adults that uphold society. They tend to be dutiful, cautious, humble, and focused on credentials and traditions. They are concerned citizens who trust authority, join groups, seek security, prize gratitude, and dream of meting out justice. The SPs, the artisans, as they're referred to, tend to be fun-loving, optimistic, realistic, focused on the here and now. Artisans pride themselves on being unconventional, bold, and spontaneous. They make playful mates, creative parents, and troubleshooting leaders. They're excitable, trust their impulses, want to make a splash, seek stimulation, prize freedom, and dream of mastering action skills. So sadly, only 6 of us fall in this fun category. Okay. The idealists. The idealists are no. It's not about growing up, it's how you're wired. Okay. Idealists are enthusiastic, they trust their intuition, they yearn for romance. See, now more of you wish you were. I want to yearn for romance. Okay. Where was I? Where was I? Idealists pride themselves on being loving, kind-hearted, and authentic. They tend to be giving, trusting, spiritual, and they are focused on personal journeys and human potentials. They make intense mates, nurturing parents, and inspirational leaders. The rationals, the NTs, they tend to be pragmatic, skeptical, self-contained. I'm acting like an NT, aren't I? Skeptical, self-contained, focused on problem solving and systems analysis. They pride themselves on being ingenious, independent, and strong-willed. They make reasonable mates, individualizing parents, and strategic leaders. They are even-tempered and they trust logic, yearn for achievement, seek knowledge, prize technology, and dream of understanding how the world works. I'm an SP. I wish maybe I could have gotten that engineering degree instead of a geology degree. Geology fits the SP, engineering fits the NT. So, anyway, because you are one? Everybody feels that way about their own type. All right, so I'm going to see if y'all learned something in this whole process. You're going to have a little fun with this. The Wizard of Oz. How many of you seen the movie or read the book? Maybe you read the book. Either one. Just raise your hand. Okay. Wizard of Oz. If you read the book or seen the movie. There's a new movie coming out. Who knows what they're going to do to the story? Okay, so don't trust it. Okay. Wizard of Oz. So when you look at this picture, now that you know, I gave you the key earlier. Now, if some of you were in this class before, I saw a few hands go up earlier, and you know the answer, you have to restrain yourself. And you know what? I would find that even when I open it up to the ones that have done the class before, they still can't get it. Okay, so these 4 match perfectly the 4 temperaments. So your job is to tell me which one's which. So think, I already smell a little bit of brain smoke in the room. All right, as soon as you think you can tell us which one's which, then go ahead and stick your neck out and tell us. Oh, sure, run the mic. All right, who's ready? You got it? I saw a light went on like, I think I got it.
No, don't bring it over here. I'm not disrespecting.
All right, tell us what you got.
Okay, I think.
Is this Leia?
No, I'm Abby. That's it. I'm Leia. Okay. I think
Okay.
the guardian is Dorothy, and the idealist is the scarecrow. What? Wait, is that not the question?
Y'all want to do a committee meeting?
Is that not the question? What? Okay.
No,
Yeah,
she's got,
shut
no,
up.
that
Okay.
is the question. You are on the right track. Okay.
And then the artisan, maybe the Tin Man, and then rational, the lion. Is that right? Are any of them right?
All right, wait, which one's the lion?
Wait. NT?
Okay.
No.
Okay, do y'all agree with her?
Oh,
No?
okay.
All right, all you loud people. Actually, I think she did a little better than most people in my class. So, congratulations for giving it your best shot. Okay. All right, Daniel, NT, let's see what he can do.
Okay, I think the Tin Man is the guardian. The Scarecrow's the rational. And Dorothy is the idealist and Lion's the artisan.
No. Okay, next. All right, we've got another one from the team over here is conspiring.
Committee has decided.
Nice try, but listen, everybody gets an A for effort, okay? This is hard. I mean, nobody ever really gets it. Okay, are y'all arguing or are you conspiring?
We're good.
Oh, yeah, all right, we're ready.
Yeah.
Is this Sophia?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to learn y'all's names. You'll see.
Okay, so we said that the guardian was Dorothy. The artisan.
Scarecrow's what?
No. We said the scarecrow was the rational. The idealist is the Tin Man, and the lion is the artisan. Okay, no, that don't make sense.
Can you give, okay, I'm just going to tell you that you are correct. Okay, but what I'd like to know is what your reasoning was on each one.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we said Dorothy. Sorry. We said Dorothy was the guardian, and because she was helpful and she kind of like led them through the road. Congrats.
Okay.
We said- sorry.
Just so y'all know, remember earlier I said you know each temperament by what they're seeking.
Oh. Well, we said that the lion was next because he wanted to be like the fun-loving one, but he was always so scared. And then the idealist is a Tin Man because he wanted the heart, so he was yearning for romance and seeking true self. And then I'll pass it to Leah for the last one.
We said the last one was the scarecrow because he was like the only logical one, and he was like, he just questioned stuff, and that's what we were doing the whole time while she was talking.
Okay, that's good. Very well done. Okay, so let me just kind of give you the key. It's really amazing that this matches the four temperaments. And I think the only reason it does is because when they create a fictional story, they create different people to create tension in the characters. And so you'll see this often in portrayals in fiction. And you'll see the types come out. So, so from the book, I'm going to quote from the book. So, the woodman is the idealist, the Tin Woodman. It says, from the book, it says, thereafter he walked very carefully with his eyes on the road, and when he saw a tiny ant toiling by, he would step over it so as to not harm it. The Tin Woodman took great care never to be cruel or unkind to anything. Okay, all right. No, and saying there is, no one can love who has no heart. All right, the rational is a scarecrow. He says, how shall we cross the river? Asked Dorothy. That's easily done, replied the scarecrow. The Tin Woodman must build a raft so we can float to the other side. This is a first-rate idea, said the lion. One would almost suspect you had brains in your head instead of straw. And what was the thing he wanted more than anything else? A brain. Okay. Brains are the only thing worth having in this world. Anyway, did I skip one? The idealist, the guardian. Oh, guardian. And what did Dorothy want more than anything else? She wanted to go home. All right, so Dorothy washed herself carefully, dressed herself in the clean gingham, and picked up her basket. "Come along, Toto," she said. "We will go to Emerald City." She closed the door, locked it, put the key carefully in the pocket of her dress. And so with Toto trotting along soberly behind her, she started on her journey. And the saying for her is, there's no place like home. That is the safety and security of home. So that's just an illustration to help you begin to grasp the 4 temperaments. And then it'll also help you grasp which one of those temperaments are you. So based on kind of what we're doing right now and breaking down the temperaments, does anybody that's an NT change their mind? You've changed your mind? Okay, so we have one. What are you changing to? To the idealist. Aha. Okay, so that gives us 6. Oh, where's my... Oh. So it gives us 6 idealists, okay, and 12 NTs. All right? Anybody else changing their perspective now? Confess.
I confess I'm an NT.
All right. All right. So, well, it shifted it just a little bit. So we're back to 20, 20. She's a lion? Oh, you're right. I didn't do the lion. I thought you were saying she's a lion. I thought you were bragging on your daughter. You're like, my daughter's a lion. That's why she knows she's an NT. Okay, all right. I missed one. Okay, the lion. All right, my apologies. Let's see how we're doing. Maybe do we need a quick break?
Not till after you do the lion.
I think we should do a break right now. No, I was thinking. All right. Then, with one blow of his heavy paw, all armed with sharp claws, he knocked the spider's head from its body. Jumping down, he watched it until the long legs stopped wiggling. When he knew it was quite dead, the lion went back and said proudly, "You need fear your enemy no longer." And his saying was, as long as I know myself to be a coward, I shall be unhappy. So the thing he wanted more than anything else was courage. Right? So let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll get to the nitty-gritty. You feel better? You have a little closure? Are you a J?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. That J wants closure. Can you... Hang on, let me turn my mic off. Are we ready to restart? Okay, so if the Wizard of Oz was hard enough for you, you smarties over here, let's see if you get this one. Let's see what happens. All right, so I'm going to show you a clip. 4 temperaments again in this clip, but there's more than 4 people in the clip. So I want you to identify the 4 obvious temperaments as we watch this very carefully. And Mike, you know the drill, but at some point after we watch it, then go back, freeze it so they can look at the people in the picture and we can discuss it. Okay. Here we go. Roll them.
One share for having the car, 1 share for going down and looking at the wreck, and
Okay,
3
hey,
more
pause
shares
it.
for being 3 more people in the car. Which
Okay,
will
I'm
give
gonna-
you a
I'm gonna
total of
explain
8
it.
shares, giving you,
Okay, I got to explain what they're doing, then start it over.
That should cover everything,
Um,
including the
So what happened, this is a
emancipation
movie called It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World.
$1,000 per share.
Crazy movie from like 1968 or something. I probably saw it in the movie theater 5 times. Okay, so what happened is there was a treasure. And so all these people found out that there's a treasure and there's clues as to where to find it. And they're trying to figure out when we get the treasure, we have to divide it up. And of course, it begins this madness race. But this is the beginning of the race. This is where they're trying to figure out among themselves, how are we going to divide up this treasure that they haven't even found yet. But it's silly. Yeah. Okay, so now with that, roll them.
That would mean you would get 3 shares for being 3 people, 1 share for having the car, 1 share for going down and looking at the wreck, and 3 more shares for being 3 more people in the car, which would give you a total of 8 shares, giving you $112,000.
And that should cover everything, including the emancipation of women.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see now. As I understand it, I got 1 share for being 1 person, 1 share for going down the hill, 1 share for the truck, and 1 share for being a person in the truck. But no matter how you figure it out, I still don't get as much as anybody else.
Look, let me explain it once more. You see, their group, those 3 of them, they get 112,000, right? Those over there, them, they get 97,000. Us, we get 84,000. And you, by yourself, you get $56,000 alone. And that's tax-free money.
What do you mean, tax-free?
Well, I mean, if we go down to this park and we uncover the money and we have it, I mean, I'm sure he's not going to declare anything. I know he's not going to declare anything. And I'm not going to, declare.
What are you talking about, declare it?
Well, I mean, it's like non-taxable income. It's like a gift.
But sure, if we find the money, we still have to report the taxes. Otherwise, it's like stealing from the government.
Can you explain it to him, please?
Me? Well, don't you see, if we find the money, there may not be any taxes to pay on it, just because we did find the money. But what he was trying to say is...
Listen, everybody has to pay taxes. Even businessmen that rob and steal and cheat from people every day. Even they have to pay taxes.
I give up. Look, anybody got a better, fairer plan? Go ahead and do
There
it.
were 8 of us there, so that simply means 8 shares. 3 for us, 2 for you.
This is hopeless. We're gonna get no place if we're gonna continue listening to this old bag.
Hey, what are you trying to do, lady? You're trying to split us up so it becomes every man for himself?
And every woman for himself.
One more funny remark from you, Buster.
Well, let's get out of
Oh,
here.
please don't argue anymore. You heard everybody's...
Look, we figured it 17 different ways. And every time we figured it, it was no good, because no matter how we figured it, somebody don't like the way we figured it. So now, there's only one way to figure it, and that is every man, including the old bad, for himself.
So good luck and may the best man win.
Right. Except you, lady. May you just drop dead.
All right. We all agree on that. Now, look.
Okay. It's funny every time I see it. All right, so if he's going to go back, we'll have them stuck on the screen and then talk to me. He's got the mic. Do your analysis. Should I tell you who the 4 are that we're breaking down? Okay, the old bag is not included. Okay, so then that leaves the other 4 temperaments. I don't have no idea what temperament she is. So anyway, she's just yelling. All right, and they're yelling at her. Okay, so did you figure it out? But y'all are NTs. You have like photographic memory, right? Yes. It's kind of a long clip, though. Anybody want to try for it? All right, Justin's going to give it a whirl. All right, Justin.
Sure, another word.
Help us out, buddy.
Always. So the Guardian is the guy in the red shirt. How do you pronounce that?
Oh, the artisan. Artisan.
Yeah, that thing.
Okay. You're saying the man in the red shirt,
Those two.
the two guys on the right?
Yeah.
You're saying they're SPs?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
No, we're saying they're SJs.
Oh, you're saying that the two guys on the right that want every man for himself? Drop dead lady?
That is what I wrote. Never mind. You don't know then.
All right. Anybody else want to try? Nice try. You get a kudos for that attempt. All right. All right. Cristiano wants to give it a try.
Green shirt is the Guardian. Mickey Rooney is the
Okay, so you said the green shirt is,
the Guardian.
and why do you say that?
Because he wants everything secure. He wants everything lined out. Report the income. Report the income.
Okay.
You got to do all this.
We got to support the government.
Yeah, you got to support the government.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm with you.
Then, like I said, Mickey Rooney's an idealist because he wants to just go out, get everything done, and no rules.
Okay. Which one?
The Mickey Rooney, red shirt.
Oh, you're saying he's a what?
He's the idealist. He just NF. NF is the red shirt. Because it's just go out in the here and now. Let's just go out.
Okay. All right.
And the gray suit
Okay.
is the NT, because he wants all the rules. He thinks it out. Wants to do all the rationing, and then that leaves one with the captain's hat as the artisan.
Okay. Marty, you're shaking your head. Talk to us. Help us. Are you an introvert? Really? But I can sense you have perception, maybe wisdom. You don't want to try? There's no harm. We're not going to reject you. She's laughing. All right, she's going to try. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody give her a nice golfer's clap. All right.
Okay. I think that the red shirt is an artisan.
Okay.
The one with kind of like the captain's cap, I think that's a guardian. I feel like that's a little bit wrong though.
Okay.
The one with the green shirt is an idealist.
The green shirt is what?
Idealist.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong.
Okay, we're going to give you an A for effort, but you're not. You got one of them right.
I think Mike's got it figured out.
All right, Mike's got to figure it out. We're not going to do this much longer as I'm running out of time, but I'll tell you the answers in a second. It'll all make sense once I tell you. All right, Mike, drum roll. Oh, the NT Club, they have, okay, Mike, give it a shot, and then we'll let them.
She was on the way.
All right. Oh, Cristiano was on the way? Do y'all want to try?
Oh, he's probably going to get it.
So you're going to have to shove it in his face.
Shove it in his face.
Shove it in his face.
Okay.
He's pushing it away.
was the artisan.
Oh, wait, which one's the artisan? Milton Berle.
The black hat.
They know the names of these actors, ladies and gentlemen.
He does. He does.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, keep going.
Black hat.
The one in the suit is the rational. Jonathan Winter in the green is the idealist, and Mickey Rooney is the guardian.
In the red. He's in the red.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give y'all one more try. You said y'all are raising your hands again. You want to try again? Okay, and y'all got the Wizard of Oz right. We'll see if they get this right. This is the last attempt.
This is a guesstimate, so please, yeah.
No, if you don't get it right, you're in big trouble, young ladies. No pressure.
The one that we said was the gray suit was a guardian because he was trying to split it up evenly. I think that was him. And then the one with the cap on, which one is that one again? Oh, the green suit. We said that he was an NF. Yeah, he was an idealist. And then the one with the captain hat. Oh no! Wait, what? Wait, I want to keep going.
Okay, Chris, y'all aren't even close. No. Okay, I'm going to explain it to you. You'll all see it. It'll all make sense. Oh, did you have a comment? You mean, did you get any of those correct just now? Not really. Okay, all right. Let me just tell you what they are, okay? Okay, the guy with the black hat is an NF. What was his biggest concern? He says, you're just going to hurt their feelings. Did y'all get that? Did you catch that? You're hurting their feelings. You're hurting their feelings. Okay, all right. And then the nerd guy with the suit and tie who's doing all these calculations, and he's so like in the clouds with his calculations, nobody could relate to him. Nobody could understand it, but he had this quantifiable calculations he was doing. He's an NT, right? Okay, some of y'all got that one. Okay, so the guy in the green, Jonathan Winters, right? Okay, he is the guardian because we got to pay our taxes. We got to uphold the institutions, right? And then that leaves us to two turkeys on the right who are so rude, and all they could do is what? Action, action, action. Let's get out of here. It's every man for himself, and you can drop dead, lady. They're the SPs. You had the, well, you said SJ. All right, does that make sense? Do y'all agree? You're like, okay, yeah, now it all makes sense. Okay, all right. All right, so hopefully this is kind of sharpening you up a little bit. It'll also help you when you start to hang out with your friends to do psychotherapy on them. Yeah, but what are you seeking? What's the meaning of life for you? You know, well, I just want knowledge. Oh, well, you're an NT. Okay. All right, so let's theorize a moment, continue our discussion. So we talked about how SPs make up 40% of the population. They're the action-oriented people, and I joked about it. But the truth is, I'm joking about it, but the truth is these people are not in church. There are some of them in church. They tend to be in more animated churches. You know, a little rock and roll, a little excitement, a little bit of Holy Spirit. You know, they would tend to be attracted to those types of churches, but generally they feel churches are boring. Okay? So, these guys, why are they not in church? They trust their impulses. They want experience, okay? I kind of gave you the answer. Their perception of going to church on Sunday morning is just something boring, and it's not holding their attention because they're so action-oriented. It doesn't mean they can't be reached. We actually have a lot of SPs in our church. And I always kind of do inventory because I'm kind of like, okay, if we have SPs in our church, there's hope for us. Because if we can reach them and they'll come and they'll settle and become a part, then they're the hardest group to reach, right? The next hardest group is probably these people because they think they know better. They always are right. And so. Great family reunions, huh? Well, I have several of them in my closest knit family. I don't know about my grandkids yet. There's 12 of them, and who knows where they're going to end up. All right, so let's talk about a little bit. Yes, Dara. If they're a teenager, they're going to change a lot. So Nathan took it when he was a teenager. He was an NF. The boy is an aerospace engineer. Okay, so he's an NT. You know, he's extremely intelligent, very high-level professional. So we couldn't tell that. But what we could tell about him, you could see the end. Now, retrospectively, we can look back, we see the NT in him. Because he had a compulsion he was begging us all the time, if we're going to throw away an old toaster or something, give me the toaster, I want to take it apart. So he had all this junk in his room. He's always taking stuff apart. He never was concerned about putting anything back together. His whole motivation was to gain knowledge, to understand what made that thing tick, right? So we could see it, but we didn't necessarily put the pieces together, right? So, but that's a really great question. So they do change. And you can see certain things and how they're hardwired, but it's not really that evident. Even now, I know we were talking about Cece. Y'all know Cece, right? Most of you probably know Cece, but she's one of our leaders. She's been with us for about 7 years. And she came as a college student as a freshman. She's working tonight, but we were discussing today with her husband, Marcus, that when I met her, she was an SP. And we're like going on all the trips, and man, yeah. But she's graduated from college and got a job. It's like messed her up. So she's migrated to an ESTJ. I kept telling her like a year or two ago, you need to take that test again. I think maybe you're a T. No, I'm not a T. There's no way I'm a T. I'm an F. I said, I don't know. I see the way you're thinking things through and the way you're making decisions and stuff, I think maybe you're a T. Anyway, so apparently she tested T, not just on the edge, not 50%. She tested at like 65% T. So people can migrate and they can shift, but sometimes their job will shape them. And it's actually more coercive than it is who they actually are. So people in the military will often test out ISTJ. They get out of the military and all of a sudden now they're an ESFP. And because they comply with the military culture. And the military culture is an ISTJ culture. Does that make sense? So they become kind of compliant with that environment that they're in every single day. And then when they get out from under that environment, then they kind of revert back to kind of who they really are. It's just been an observation I've noticed. So also the way you do devotions is affected by what temperament you are. And this really helped me when I understood it, because my wife, she will sit with a Bible on her lap and she will read it and she'll pray and she'll cry and she'll sense the Lord's presence and I've never been able to do that, because if I do that, if I sit down with the Bible on my lap and start reading it and try to cry, it won't happen. I will just fall asleep. And so my style of devotion, when I read this years ago, I was taking a graduate course from a seminary on personality and things like that. And so it's kind of a bundle of things. But in that class, they had a section on preferred devotional style of different temperaments. And I thought, all of a sudden, I had an explanation of why I do my devotions the way I do. And I felt kind of bad about it, because I thought I'm not very spiritual the way I do devotions. And so if you read this, so for instance, the SJ, there were 6 of you. It says you're carefully organized. You have an organized regimen of striving toward a relationship with God. Discipline, order, and the historical dimension are highly valued. Since there can be a tendency toward pessimism in the SJ, and overuse of gloom, doom, sin, and death aspects of the faith, it's important for them to focus at least half of their time on resurrection themes. Anyway, I thought that's funny. All right, the SP, that's me, and the other 5 of you that are here, it says, and 40% of the American population. Prayer is not seen as a routine, but an active response to God in loving service. They have the least need for long periods of formal prayer. They will prefer free-flowing, informal prayers, as with charismatic worship. Like we're going to have Sunday night, we're going to have a night of worship, and it'll be more of a free-flowing type of worship. We'll do it in the lobby, and we'll pack everybody in there, in the living room. They will prefer free-flowing, informal prayers. As with charismatic worship, they will have a preference for spontaneous, action-filled worship events because the SP can see God in all creation. What was my degree in? Geology. They can meditate fruitfully on a flower, a lake, a waterfall, a mountain, the ocean, or any event of nature or change of season. Okay? And it described me perfectly. The NF, and there were 6 NFs, constant scavenger hunt to find hidden meaning in every event and relationship. They have a natural hunger and thirst for the spiritual. They have the greatest needs spiritually. Without spiritual growth and development, they wither and fade and die just like a plant without water. No wonder the majority of the clergy are NFs. It's true. The most common of all the 16 personality types for ministers and clergy is an ENFJ. NT temperament, their devotional styles marked by a detective who is trying to solve a mystery. Every fiber of the mind will be challenged to attain the self-discipline to conquer laziness, pride, and selfishness, and to center one's life in God and in loving service to others. So they're very, and I've talked to NTs over the years that will be very intense about, how they're doing in their relationship with God and their devotion, the process involved. So when you look at professions, for instance, I was in medical sales. I was a surgical rep for a number of years. And they asked me to do one of these seminars like I'm doing with you guys for the whole team in the Texas region. And there were maybe 40 reps and managers and VPs that were in this meeting. And somehow my boss discovered that I did this in my church, and he says, I want you to do it for us. They put me and my wife up in the hotel. We got special treatment because we were the speaker, even though I was just a staff member in the business. So one of the things I noticed was that there weren't very many SPs in the church, and there weren't very many, this group was kind of missing. At that time when I was doing it, there were very few of the SPs. And yet I could say those 40% of the population, where are they? And I would say we have more in our church now, but back then when I was doing that seminar for them, I had them, they all had to take the test. And when they took the test, and it was male and female, probably half male, half female, they're very successful. They're all 6-figure incomes. Back then, 6-figure incomes, we're talking 10, 15 years ago, right? So inflation adjusted, these people are making a lot of money, probably more like $200,000 or $300,000 a year in today's dollars. So they're very successful, they're very highly motivated, they're very disciplined. And so what I discovered in that group is that every single one of them in a circle of 40 or so reps, they were all ESTPs and ESTJs, male and female, didn't matter. They all were T's, without an exception, as best as I remember, ESTPs and ESTJs. And I looked at the group and I said, so here you are. I've been searching for you. And they were my coworkers. And there was an NT, and he was the VP. One NT, maybe 2 NTs in the group. Really amazing. My boss was an ESTP like me, and we were like, wow, we're brothers. Okay, so... yeah, it's kind of a fraternity, that ESTP fraternity. Doctors commonly are NTs. I worked with doctors a lot for maybe 20 years as a surgical rep. I had to relate to them, build bridges to them, and understand them, but they were NTs. Almost all of them were NTs, intuitive thinkers. high performers, extremely intelligent individuals, or scientists, purchasing people in hospital settings. They were the enforcers often. ISTJs, ISTPs, okay? CEOs, managers, ESTJs, ENTJs, nurses, pediatricians, probably physical therapists, people kind of in that level, nurse practitioners, so forth, probably tend to be NT, some of them, but more like ISFPs, ISFJs, and ESFJs. What we notice in a church environment is that often people will want to serve. They will naturally gravitate toward areas of service that fit their personality to some extent, not entirely, because sometimes somebody will just step up to fill a need, even though it may not be the best fit. So, but what I have noticed over time, our team that work the AV booth, I think there's 6 or 7 people that work the AV booth. They're all introverts, and they like it. Put me back here. I don't have to, people aren't going to mess with me except when something goes wrong. And so I'm here, I'm minding my own business, I'm doing my job. I get to work with things, inanimate objects, dials and levers and okay, anyway. The hospitality people, we try to, if they're greeting at the door and guests are coming in, we try to use extroverts for that. Because they get, okay, the extrovert, introvert, remember it says where you get your flow of energy. And the way you know if you're an extrovert or introvert is if you're energized by being with people. If you've been hanging out with people and you go to a hangout with a bunch of people and you're like, man, I'm just exhausted, I need to recharge. You're recharging with isolation, you're an introvert. If you recharge by being with more people, oh, I didn't get enough, I've got to be with people even longer. You know, that Big Bend trip, you're crammed in there and all these hikes and stuff with like 35 people and you're with them day after day and 24 hours and it's like intense and this whole thing. And so you know the extroverts and introverts because the extroverts are kind of like, man, I don't know if I got enough. I could go another 2 or 3 days. The introverts are like, get me home. I had enough of you people. I need to recharge. I'm going to die. I'm going to die on the vine if you don't get me out of here soon. Good thing this trip is only 4 days long. Okay. So common questions that people have, one of them is, can you change your letters? Which I kind of addressed that already. Does it have to be, do eyes have to be fearful or timid? Of course not. That's kind of, people sometimes mistake, well, an introverted individual maybe is timid but not at all. If you look at Margaret Yonker, you all know her, she's an INFJ. The INFJ personality type is the rarest of all of the personality types. Do we have any INFJs here tonight? INFJ. Anybody get that test? Oh, right. April's an INFJ. And Margaret's an INFJ. My wife is an INFJ. They are highly intuitive. And these would be and they're the rarest of all. So you see 6%. They're really rare. They're not that many, but we have a bunch of them in our church. But they are very in tune with prayer, intercession, the presence of God. And they often can tune in to a sense about people or about an environment or a situation on an intuitive level like few people can. So they can really tune in to people's needs around them and be very sensitive like that. They're really amazing people. And Jeanette and I did INFJ. She and I, and just so y'all understand that opposites do attract ESTP. So if you'll notice, I am literally the opposite of my wife on every letter. And we've been married 47 years. So I'm like, and we love each other. We have a great marriage. But it's been, at times, you know, how do you communicate? You communicate here. And we struggle. You know, especially, you know, her N and my S, a lot of times we're communicating like this. Oh, wait, no, you're not, you know, okay, I'll try again. And so I have to back up and then start all over again. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, we're communicating. See what I mean? So that's where, so any personality type can have a happy marriage no matter what the letters are. You understand? If they're a balanced, healthy, developing individual that, say, loves God and they have values and principles and they love the truth, and any two individuals can have a happy marriage, but some of us are blessed with a complete opposite. So with that, I want to play this clip. Are we running out of time? Oh, no, we're good. All right. So we'll play this clip. And this is a show I used to like years ago, but it demonstrates opposites attracting. Talked about you, Cece.
Okay, first thing I'm going to teach you is a very basic cha-cha.
Oh, I know cha-cha. I know cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. Boom, shaka-laka-laka, boom, shaka-laka-laka. 3, 4, cha-cha-cha. Boom, shaka-laka-laka, boom, shaka-laka-laka. Boom, 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 shaka-laka-laka, boom, boom, shaka.
Are you done?
Boom, 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 shaka. Okay, now I'm done.
Dharma, do you want to learn this or not?
Sorry.
Okay, now I'll lead.
When do I lead?
You never lead.
Who made up that rule?
I don't know, Sir Edgar Ballroom. Now look, I know we're doing this for fun, but I don't want to look like a complete idiot out there.
All right, I'll be serious.
Thank you. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Serious.
Dharma.
That's my name. Cha-cha-cha. Don't wear it out.
Okay, so can you guess what their personalities are? And the show, you have to realize they created an entire television series based on the tension between two opposite personalities. And we laugh at it because we identify with it. And so, and they're extreme opposites. And so, anybody want to try for hers? ENFP, is that what somebody said? Yes, ENFP. And then opposite to that would be what he is, which would be ISTJ. He's a classic ISTJ. ISTJs are really a delightful personality because they could come across, it's hard to sometimes tell that's what they are because they're so friendly. And they can be misunderstood actually as being extroverts. My dad was an ISTJ, my oldest son is an ISTJ, and my youngest daughter is an ISTJ. So Alicia is an ISTJ. And so anyway, the opposites really make for spicy meatballs. I mean, it can really create a lot of sparks. But if people are not founded, if they're not grounded, and they just misinterpret each other all the time and don't work hard to be humble and to love each other and to have your convictions and your values set in the Word of God, then this becomes a very powerful thing because how did God design marriage? You take a man and woman and they begin to complement each other, and together they represent the image of God, right? That's what it says in Genesis. And so it's that idea of complementing. So we shouldn't be surprised that in the natural law of things, that we're attracted to people that are totally different than us. But when we're dating them, and we're courting them, and we're engaged to them, and we're walking down the aisle with them, we think, oh, we're just alike. We share so many common interests. We just think the same. And then you get married and find out you don't think the same at all. Wait a minute, was this some sort of very cruel bait and switch? What happened? This is the roommate that will never go away. Okay. All right, romance and love. Usually in E and I, an introvert and extrovert usually are attracted to each other. There's always one, I know y'all don't balance checkbooks, but back in the day when you balance your checkbooks, there's always one of them that would do it and the other one wouldn't. And the one felt like this is what I have to do and the other's like, not balancing the checkbook. Now it's just all computerized, I don't mess with it. So much easier now. Balancing your checkbook was a real pain. It was very stressful because mine would never balance. Okay, so the sensing versus intuitive, I kind of want to make sure you kind of understand that. The sensing, again, think of the senses. Sight, smell, taste, feel. So the person that is an S, they tend to be, I kind of think of it as down to earth. as opposed to an intuitive who really is getting information. It doesn't mean they can't be down to earth. Of course they can. We can all be down to earth if we choose to be. But the intuitive naturally gravitates toward kind of this ethereal realm of gathering information, like Jeanette, figuring out that really there's an ST temperament, but nobody wants to admit it. And the more and more I look at it, the more and more I think it really makes sense. So, all right. So the ENFP, the idealist, if you're having a conversation, do we have any ENFPs here? Lord bless you, my child. We have an ENFP? Okay. Any others?
I used to be, but I've changed to a J.
The Lord healed you. I'm just kidding. Y'all realize I kid about some of the personalities. Jeanette says, you teach that seminar, it's like everybody ought to be an ESTP or they're no good. And I'm like, no, honey, that's not at all the way it is. Everybody has a place in the body of Christ. That was the whole introduction, right? We were talking about all the different motivations and how they all fit within the context. And it's the same way with the 16 personality types. So yes, Ariana, there is a place for you. She's going to cry. All right. So, but you're only 14, so that means that you could evolve. There may be a T waiting for you out there. Do you want a T? No, she doesn't want a T. We say ENFP, the P's good. Stick with it. Hold on to that. Okay, so the ENFP, if you have a conversation with them, I don't know if this ever happens to you, Hudson, when you talk to her, that's her brother. So, and if it was my brother, if it was me and my sister, we would not be sitting together ever. The sibling rivalry is awful. Okay, but I appreciate y'all. So here's the thing. When you're talking, Hudson, to your sister, does she lose her train of thought easily? She's nodding her head laughing. All right, so here's the thing. ENFP, classic. You can be talking to them, getting in a deep conversation, and suddenly they'll look up and go, oh, it's a bird. And that's where they can sometimes have a challenge in the way they live life. They can lose their attention. They can get bored easily. And from a career path, they keep changing their major. But you have to realize, though, if you can develop a mature ENFP temperament and be rooted and grounded, especially in Christ and the Word of God, then it becomes more of a guidance. It helps to temper that otherwise kind of very, and the Dharma clip is a great example of an ENFP. It's just all over the map and fun and just, they're very charming and friendly and warm and inclusive and don't kill the ant, whatever you do. Okay. In work and friendship, I just said in romance, we don't mean to do it, but we pick opposites. It's like, I'm telling you, it's kind of like some cruel thing in the design, the way God set it up. Oh, this will be fun. We'll watch this. I'm going to wire them all so they think they're the same when they get married and find out they're opposites. This will be fun. Let's watch this unfold. But when it comes to work and when it comes to friendships, we prefer to be around people like us. So remember I was talking about in work, all those people in my circle, the 40 reps. And you have to also understand in that environment, I was talking about how they make a lot of money, very successful, very driven, but it's a very technical business. So relating to doctors, being able to talk about medical devices and go into surgery and provide guidance and things like that, needed is extremely technical. And so that's why everybody that was attracted to that type of business was a T. You see? So in work and friendship, all of us really got along pretty well as a group, and we were very similar to each other. And that's kind of how people prefer it. Organizations have a personality. The military, I already mentioned, has an ISTJ. The church, most pastors, churches kind of adopt a little bit of the personality of the pastor or the leadership of the church. Somewhat naturally, but the church tends to be ENFJ, and that's because most pastors are ENFJ. And I'm not, so sorry guys. I'm an untypical pastor. Remember, I'm a ESTP, so it's what you get. Okay, so the military, the church, the company I worked with at that time, it would have been a ESTP style or personality, very much so. Hospitals, I think, tend to be ISTJ. The net, our minister, our church, I think, kind of the church really needs to be extroverted because we're pointed out to reach the world, right? And so I think our church tends to be an ESFP, ESTP personality. It has some flexibility, it has some pragmatism, but at the same time, it's friendly, it's outgoing, it's inclusive. Let's see, I have intermission written here, but we did that. The animals page, if y'all want to do it. So a few other things. Let's look at presidents. Okay, Lord of the Rings. Y'all have all seen Lord of the Rings, right? Do we have Lord of the Rings up? It's a little hard to see. That's Star Wars. So all the nerds have done this. They've identified all the characters of these movies and told you what their personality types are. So you're looking for yourself, aren't you? Is that the first thing you did? Like, where am I? Where am I? Where's the ESTP? I can't even see what that is. What is it? I don't know, Gimli. I'm the dwarf? I don't want to be the dwarf. I want to be the guy in the top left.
He's a lot of fun, I promise.
Okay, all right. Anyway, all right. So, anyway, Star Wars. Go ahead and go to Star Wars real quick. You looking for yourself? All right. I'm looking at myself. ESTP, I'm Han Solo. That's more like it. You're Darth. Oh, you're Darth Vader. Dara? ESTJ is Darth Vader. And how about the Emperor? INTJ. All right, so I'm going to just give you a few sayings to help you kind of grab your personality type. Okay, so what each type wants to hear. So I had an ENFP. I was working with another church on staff. This is a long time ago. And he was always struggling. Like, he was in his 40s, wasn't married, and he didn't know, how it's going to work out. And he's single, seemed like it was never going to end. And so one day I just told him, I said, the world is full of possibilities. And he just lit up. It's like, yeah, that's right. And I thought all I had to say was what he needed to hear. The world is full of possibilities. The ENFP that was single perpetually. So here's what you could say. INFP, I believe in you. INFJ, I'm here for you. ISTP, it's up to you. ISTJ, I depend on you. ISFP, I get you. ISFJ, I appreciate you. ENTP, I disagree with you. INTJ, I'll follow you. Yeah. ENFP, I feel you. ENFJ, I'm kind of making fun of the ENFP, sorry, Ariana. ENFJ, I'm with you. ESTP, I'm excited with you. ESTJ, I listen to you. ESFP, I notice you. Anyway, we keep going. Okay, here's another one. One line advice for every type. INTP, having many interests is an excuse not to master anything. Which one y'all want to hear? ESTP? No, are there any other? Oh, you're an ESTP. Are there any other ESTPs besides me and Naomi? Oh, you're an ESTP? Really? It's a very special club. Okay. All right, so the ESTP says, keep your promises or don't make them at all. EST, which one? It's a lot of ESTJs. Our church administrator's an ESTJ. You can't fit individual differences into the same model. I.e. meaning your model. Huh? You want to hear what? ENTJ. ENTJ, Christopher. There's more to learn from stupid people than you think. He almost said that. Ah, shame on you. Shame, shame. All right. So, what do you want? ENTP. Just because you can get away with it doesn't mean you should. Huh? ENFJ. She's an ENFP. ENFJ, don't base your advice on the presumption that you know someone well. INFJ, what you think is good for someone isn't necessarily what they truly need. INTP? ISTP? You know, is that what you are? You're like the introverted version of me. That's what Amanda is. ISTP. That is scary. Well, except she's a girl introverted version of me. ISTP, she's a lot smarter than me too. ISTP, people skills are useful and will get you places. All right, let's go to something else. The most stereotypical things, let's say, okay, this is just fun. I'm going to make sure we finish it. We're about to finish up. Okay, let's have some fun. Bible characters. Y'all know Rebecca, she was an ESTP. Paul, ENTJ. Peter, ENFP. Deborah, the judge, Deborah, ESTJ. Presidents, temperaments. Do I have a screen for them? Oh, okay. Oh, gee, okay. I've got them all listed here, but... Okay, so George Washington. Okay, these are the SJs, okay? George Washington, Harry Truman, LBJ, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, U.S. Grant, SJs. The SP presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, George W. Bush, John F. Kennedy, FDR, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan. The NT temperaments, not very many of them, but there were. Dwight Eisenhower, Thomas Jefferson, Abe Lincoln, and NTs. And it's suggested, some people think maybe Barack Obama was an NT, but he's real difficult to read because he's so aloof. So they suggest he's probably an INTJ. I know y'all don't like that. Okay, that's fine. Donald Trump, ESTP. Joe Biden, ESFP. And then did you notice one temperament that doesn't exist in any president? No NFs. Not a single NF. Why do you suppose that is? Okay, I mean, we could speculate. It's 9, so I'm going to try to wrap up. I have some, let's see. Interesting, Donald Trump, ESTP. Ted Cruz, ESTJ. Bernie Sanders, ENFP, will never be president. Joe Biden, thankfully. But Joe Biden, ESFP. And then y'all don't like, now it's saying Barack Obama, ENTP, but it was INTP. Nobody can tell what he is. He was too dubious and aloof. Okay, so I have lots of these personalities where I can give you like famous people that are these different ones, but the ones that we have the most of are the NTs. Okay. All right, well, let me look at the NTs then. Hang on. ESFPs, did we have any of those? She used to be. She's evolved to a higher level. ESFP? You're in ESFP, okay. They are the performers, the diva. The whole world is your stage, right? Elizabeth Taylor, Elvis Presley, okay, Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton, Marilyn Monroe, Beyonce, Oprah, Lindsay Lohan, Jimmy Fallon. That's examples, okay. Okay, NTs, we have so many of them. Let me see. What? NFs? We had a few NFs, right? ENFPs, Joan Baez, Dharma from Dharma and Greg. Fictional. Bill Cosby, Robin Williams, Sandra Bullock, Alicia Silverstone, and Martin Short are ENFPs. INFJ, we had several of those. All right, y'all ready for this? There were 3 of them, right, here. Mohandas Gandhi, Sidney Poitier, Alec Guinness, Oprah Winfrey, Mel Gibson, Adam Sandler, Angelina Jolie. Go figure that. I don't know. No way, huh? NTs. We had some NTs. ENTP, Walt Disney, Rush Limbaugh, Tom Hanks, Alexander the Great, Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin, Bill Maher, Glenn Beck, Mark Cuban. ENTJ, Bill Gates, Margaret Thatcher, Newt Gingrich, Patrick Stewart. INTJ, these are the scientists or the masterminds. Dwight Eisenhower, Thomas Jefferson, Isaac Newton, C.S. Lewis, Hillary Clinton. That's hard to believe. Sherlock Holmes, Adolf Hitler. Oh, maybe it's not. Karl Marx, Mark Zuckerberg, and Marcus Lemonis. I'll give you all enough? So anyway, I'll take a few minutes. I wanted to keep them from 7 to 9, and I didn't do the animal test, but I have them here if you want to circle the little animal, you know, what the characteristics are. We see what animal you are. Are you a lion? Are you When I took that test, I tied lion and otter, which created a deep conflict for me, because there's a part of me that was a leader and part of me that just wanted to play. And so that's why when I go on a Big Bend trip, I assign other people to administrate the trip, so I can be more focused on play. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Looking for a new leader, admin for Big Bend in January. It's a hard job. So what was I going to say? I was asking you something. Oh, you have any questions? Everybody's pretty happy? You're like, okay, 2 hours is enough, we're done. That's fine. I mean, it's all right. It was a long time. But wasn't Margaret? But wasn't Margaret Thatcher also in that group?
No, she was an ENTJ.
Ooh, we'll pray for you. Well, I mean, that's okay, and y'all understand. Your 4 letters have nothing to do with character. It has nothing to do with your IQ unless you're an NT. The NT is the only temperament tied to IQ, really. Yes, Darkus? Rebuke them? The ESFPs, the ones that want to play? You're not going to grow out of, you're an ESFP? No, I didn't say that. I didn't outgrow ESTP. I still have a problem. I mean, you can change over time, but if you, anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying exactly, but are you an ESFP? Is that what you're saying, Darkus? Every personality type has a vital role in society and the world, in the church, in every part. All 16 parts are needed. They're all important. Okay, everybody say with me, I'm important. I have a place. I'm part of the puzzle. I fit in somewhere. I have a purpose. Repeat after me. Okay. Well, we just call tonight, and I know what will happen. Y'all will be up here talking to me and all these questions, and that's okay. It's fun. Nope. You say, nope. Not me. I'm done. Oh, the animal quiz. Take it so we know what animal you are.